My name's Bacso. I've lived in Dyer for 25 years. A lot of people are like, oh, did you move here from New York after it happened and blah, blah, blah? Nope, it was just a 1-week assignment, and I flew out there. I was supposed to fly out there on the 10th, and I was supposed to fly back on the 14th, and it just, everything else broke loose right there on Tuesday, and I was driving back. So I've lived in Dyer for 25 years. My wife and I have 2 boys. They're 20 and 18. They got girlfriends now, so it's hard to see them. I don't see them that much anymore, but I really enjoy spending time with them and doing things with them and going to sporting events and just traveling with them and things like that. I'll have to go back to 2001, but I'm going to go back a few days before September 11, 2001. I'm going to go back to September 9th, 2001. So I was at my nephew's birthday party. It was his 8th birthday party. My whole family was there. My mom was there, my dad was there, my sisters, my brothers, everything. And I recall telling them at the end, near the end of the party, that I was traveling on Monday to New York, that I'd be working in the World Trade Center, that I'd be there Monday through Friday. I'd be coming back on Friday. I'll see them next weekend. And as a matter of fact, I mentioned to them that I would be working in World Trade Center Tower 1, the one that was bombed in 1993. And they were concerned. My mom was concerned. My dad was concerned. And I said to them, which ironically came back to bite me after September 11th, was I said, don't worry, Mom and Dad, lightning never strikes the same place twice. And I said it to them before they left and I left that party. Fast forward to Monday, September 10th, 2001. I flew out on the very first flight that morning on a now defunct airline called ATA. They used to fly out of Midway, and they used to fly all the time in New York. So I was on the very first flight out. Beautiful day, beautiful morning. I was 5 rows from the cockpit. I was in the 5th row on the aisle, and I remember when I sat down, there's an empty seat between myself and another woman. She was already sleeping against the glass window. And I recall on the flight there, it was really crowded, but I remember the flight attendants going in and out of the cockpit, in and out, like it was nothing. Just open the door and go right into the cockpit, close the door. And I thought to myself at the time, ironically, that can't be too safe. I remember them going in and out of that cockpit, thin door, no lock on it, just going in and out. But then I just slumbered off to sleep until we started making our approach in LaGuardia. So once we landed in LaGuardia, I took a cab into Manhattan. When you're driving from LaGuardia into Manhattan, you could always see those 2 towers. I mean, they were very distinct on the south side of Manhattan. And I recall driving into Manhattan and seeing those 2 towers. They're just awe-inspiring. And so then my cab was taking me to the Club Quarters Hotel, and that's where I was to stay for the entire week. The Club Quarters Hotel was 4 blocks away from the World Trade Center. I wanted to stay closer. I asked to stay at the Millennium Hilton, which was right across the street from the World Trade Center, but it was all booked up, so they couldn't put me in there. I wanted to stay at the Marriott, the World Trade Center Marriott, which is the building, the hotel, that was between World Trade Center Tower 1 and World Trade Center Tower 2. It was considered World Trade Center Tower 3. Nope, that was completely booked, so I couldn't stay there. I'm so glad now that they put me 4 blocks away instead of being in one of those 2 hotels. So I took my luggage and everything, I dropped it in my room, and I immediately started walking down to the World Trade Center. I had to wind myself through a couple of blocks before I came upon the 2 buildings. And like I said, they're awe-inspiring from a distance. They're awe-inspiring when you were standing right next to them. Both towers, 1,360 feet tall, somewhere around there. 110 stories. My tower, World Trade Center Tower 1, had the antenna on top of it. It was about 360 feet tall, that antenna. World Trade Center Tower 2, that was the one that had the observation deck on the roof. So you could go up on World Trade Center Tower 2 and you could look around. You could see for miles and miles. So I went to work that day on Monday, and I arrived in the building around noon. Now when you went into the building, the security was extremely tight since the bombing in 1993. When you walked in, you had to get an ID, or you had to get a pass. You had to present your ID. They took a picture of you, you got an ID, then you took that ID and you swiped it through a turnstile so that you could get into the elevator banks. There was no other way to get around it. It was very tight security. So I went in, got my ID, my picture for the 10th, swiped it on the turnstiles, and I went into the elevator bank. The first elevator bank takes you from 0 to 44. That was my elevator bank. Once you get off at 44, you switch over to another elevator bank, and that takes you up to 44 to approximately 60. Well, I was stationed on floor 57 for the entire week. So I swiped in at 40, at ground floor, went up to 44, took the elevator bank over, and got up to 57. Now, the firm I was working for at the time, I was a computer consultant. It was a law firm, and I was upgrading their email system. That's why I was there for the entire week. It was going to take multiple weeks. This was just the first week of the project. So I was upgrading their email system, and I was in a computer server room by myself on the 57th floor. There was nobody else working with me. It was just me. It's just me and a bunch of computers. We were friends. We were all friends. Those were my friends. I talked to the computers. So that was Monday. Monday at approximately 6:30, 7 o'clock, one of my constituents from the New York office, one of my good friends says, hey, let's take you to dinner. You want to go to dinner? I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go to dinner. So we went to dinner on Monday night in the shadow of World Trade Center Tower 2. There was like a little Italian restaurant. We sat there outside the little Italian restaurant, and we had dinner, and we had drinks. And I remember it was drizzling a little bit that night, but it was really nice. It was just very calm out there. It was warm, pretty warm for September, that time of the year. And, just the towers being all lit up at night was pretty amazing. So I remember that night, sitting there, I said, hey guys, I'm gonna get a jump on work tomorrow. And I said, Chuck, can I borrow your ID? And he said, yeah. And I said, I just want to go in early tomorrow. I want to get a jump on work. I want to get in around 7:30, and I don't feel like going through security. I said, can I borrow your ID? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. So once I had Chuck's ID, I could swipe in on the elevator bank, turnstile, and go up. I didn't have to wait in line for my ID. So Chuck gave me his ID that night. I said, thank you, and I said, okay, everybody, good night, and I'll see you in the morning. Next morning, approximately 6:30, I get up, Eastern Standard Time, get ready. I'm out the door of my hotel about 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's no more than a 10-15 minute walk from my hotel down to the World Trade Center. So I'm already walking in around 7:40, 7:45 Eastern Standard Time on September 11, 2001. Took the elevator bank up to 44, and then took the next elevator bank up to 57. And once I got to 57, there was hardly anybody on the floor that morning, that early, at 7:45. So I'm walking around and I find the coffee machine, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll make myself some coffee. But I actually thought about it there for a minute, because somebody told me, Windows of the World was in my building, the top. It was a restaurant. And they said, man, they have awesome breakfast there. You should go sometime. And I actually thought about it that morning, about going up to the Windows of the World and have breakfast. But I thought, no, I'll have my coffee, a donut or Danish that they had. I'll just have that, and that'll be it. I'll go another day. I'll go up to the Windows of the World. I didn't go up there for breakfast that morning. So I got my coffee and went back to the computer server room. So in the computer server room, the floor is raised. It's raised up. And there's just racks and racks and racks and racks of servers from the ground to the ceiling. And they're about 4 or 5 rows deep. And it's loud in there because everything's turned on and everything's humming away. So I got my coffee. I'm sitting in there. I started loading some software in one of the computers, and I just happened to lean back like this against the railing. There was a railing, and I just crossed my legs, and I was watching the software load. When at 8:46, the first plane, Flight 11, hit my building, and I felt it. There was like a little jolt, and then there was an explosion, and the explosion was pretty loud, but it was getting louder. And I remember looking at the ceiling, and I thought, is there a transformer on the floor above me? Because that's how loud it was. I thought it was a transformer had blown like right above me. I thought, wait a minute, that floor has people on it. There's no way that could be a transformer. But the sound just kept getting stronger and stronger and louder and louder. By the time it got to my floor, it started shaking everything. The racks in the room started shaking, the monitors started flickering on and off, and the floor went up and went down. It was a raised floor to begin with, but it raised me up and it dropped me back down. I was like, okay, something's going on here. And then the sound of the rumbling and the explosion started to subside. Now that was scary enough as I'm standing there. Then the second piece is the building started to sway. Because as you recall, Flight 11 came in at right around 93rd, 94th, 95th, 96th floors. It came in at an angle. It was going 460 and 60 miles an hour, and it was carrying 10,000 gallons of jet fuel. So when it hit, it ignited, and everything just went straight down the elevator shafts. Now getting hit that high, at that speed, with that size and volume of a plane, that's why the building started to sway. Now I'm on the inside, and I don't know what's going on the outside. Now I feel the building starting to sway to the south, and it's a perfectly clear day, and it's swaying to the south. And I thought to myself, oh my God, they got a bomb in this building. They got a bomb in the base, and the building's trying to find which way to fall. So I thought to myself, okay, if the building starts to sway to the south, I gotta run to the north. For my only survival, my only chance of survival is running north. And then the building came to center, then it started to sway to the north. I said, okay, now I gotta run to the south. My only way to survive is going south. It only swayed twice. It went way to the south, it went to the center, back to the north, and then it stopped. It came back to center. Once it came back to center, I knew in my mind, I knew in my heart, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I said, something's seriously wrong with this building. I am getting out of here. So I ran out to the hallway. There was 3 other people standing there in the hallway. I said, what the hell was that? And they didn't know either. We all looked like deer in headlights. We were just scared. Then we heard this gentleman yell from his corner office, come down here and take a look at this. So we run down to his corner office, and he's pinned against one of the windows. And the windows were very small in the World Trade Center. So he's pinned against one, and he's looking up. So I ran to the next one, and the other people ran to the other ones, and were looking up. And it looked like a ticker tape parade. There was all this confetti, like paper falling, and burning material was falling and stuff. And you look down below, and the lobby and everything, the Plaza level was just littered with debris down below. And then I'm looking up, and I could see smoke. And then I realized, okay, something happened above us. It was either a plane or a helicopter, because there was a lot of traffic, air traffic in Manhattan. There's Cessnas flying around everywhere. There's news helicopters flying around everywhere. So that's what I thought. My immediate impression was a small plane, a small helicopter, hit a few floors above us. And then I got that sick pit and feeling in the pit of my stomach that somebody had died. You know, you knew that somebody couldn't survive an impact like that into a building. Needless to say, I didn't know how big it was that what hit us. So I remember turning to those 4 people in that office, that corner office, and saying, this can all wait another day, right? And they're all like, yeah. I said, okay, where's the closest stairwell? And they're like, right out the hall here. So we were in that stairwell, or opening the door to that stairwell, within 5 minutes of the impact. That's how quickly we moved. And we got to the stairwell. It was probably 5 minutes after that initial impact. When I opened that door, there was a lot of people coming down already from floors above. So they knew something serious was going on, and they were getting out too. So it was a very slow process. You get in to the stairwell, and you're walking down 2 by 2 down the stairwell. It was probably about that wide, the stairwell, so you could fit 2 by 2. And it was a very slow process. Go down a floor, people are coming in. Go down a floor, people are coming in. Go down a floor, people are coming in. We were down, oh my God, I'd say we were down maybe 10 floors, somewhere around 47 or something, and then boom, there was a muffled explosion in our stairwell, and the lights flickered on and off in the stairwell. Some women started screaming, some women started crying. I thought it was our building. I thought, okay, something happened again to our building. So everybody stopped walking. Basically, we all stopped. We didn't realize what was going on at that point. Nothing happened. We heard the explosion, the lights flickered on and off, nothing happened, but we're still standing there. And all it took was one person that was like a flight of stairs behind us said, go. All you hear is that voice say, go. And then everybody just started walking again down the stairs. It was a very calm process going down the stairs. Everybody helped each other out. People were having panic attacks, asthma attacks. They would yell on occasion, injured coming down, move to the right. So you would pin yourself up against the wall and to the right, and they would be bringing down injured people from above. That's the first time I saw people burned. I'd never seen anything like that before. And one was a woman, and she was walking down, and she walked past me. She had her hands up in front of me, out in front of her. She didn't want to be touched because she was burned so bad. Her arms were burned. Another guy, the second guy that walked by, he was burned. His shirt was just tattered, and his back was just scorched from the fire. So those are the 2 people that I saw as they were going down. But it was a very calm process going, evacuating that building, going down the stairs. I think if we really knew what was going on, people would have been stepping on top of each other to get out of there. And however, it was a very calm process. So we got down about to around the 44th floor, and then I started seeing smoke coming up my stairwell. If I looked over the side railing and looked down, it was very gray. It was very gray smoke coming out. And people's heads, you could barely see the top of people's heads down about a floor below me. So I thought to myself, I can't go down there, because if I ingest too much of that smoke, I'm not making it out of this building. So I opened the door on 44, and as you recall, 44 is a switchover elevator bank. I opened the door on 44, there was a security guard right there. And he says, is your stairwell filling with smoke? I said, yeah, it is. He's like, I'll take you across the hall here to another stairwell. He said, it's more crowded with people on the way down, but it's clear. There's no smoke all the way down. So that guy's a savior for us. I mean, for a lot of us. Because as soon as I went out that door, everybody else was following me over to the next stairwell. And we got in the next stairwell, and he was right. It was hot in that stairwell. There was a lot of people walking down. But again, it was calm, and everybody was very cooperative and helping each other out. We got down to about the 21st floor, and that's when I first saw firemen. They had come up and made it that far to the 21st floor already. They had all their gear off. They were resting right inside the doorway on the 21st floor. Their tanks were off, their hoses were off, and they were just sitting there drinking water. And I remember talking to them, and I said, guys, there's a lady behind me. She's a bigger lady. She's having problems breathing, and she's having problems getting down. And I remember looking at the guy and looking at the fireman through his mask, and he said, no problem, sir, we got it covered. We got it covered. And it's actually, he put me in a state, I think I was so pumped up with anxiety and adrenaline at that point. He kind of calmed me down when he said, no problem, sir, we got this. You know, I thought, wow, he does. This guy's really, and he's really put me in a, you know, in a much calmer state. You know, everything seems like it's being okay. So that's when I looked at him, told him that, and then I continued down the stairs. I got down to the ground floor, which is the Plaza, and the door was open, and there was sprinkler systems were on. It was very wet, it was very slippery, and people were yelling, ground floor, we're at the Plaza. So I walked out the door, and there is the Plaza right there, but it's just covered in debris. It was covered in concrete, pieces of the airplane, things like that. There were jumpers, you know, people were jumping. You could not go out across the Plaza because of those conditions. It was just way too hazardous to try to evacuate that way. So luckily, we were able to go down an escalator, walk down an escalator, and go through the mall. Now, underneath that Plaza was a huge mall. There was all kinds of stores in there, Disney stores and Starbucks and all kinds of things like that. So as we got down into that mall, there was firefighters and police officers and Port Authority and everything lining both sides. They made like a tunnel, almost like, they're like, go this way, you know, run to the other side of the mall. Do not use your cell phones, because some of us had cell phones. Do not use your cell phones. Just run all the way to the other side. There's an escalator. You'll come up out of the ground. So we did that. You know, we hustled our butts over there as quickly as we could to that other escalator, which was probably about a half a block from the World Trade Center. And then we came out of the escalator onto, I think it was Fulton Street, right there. That was the first time I got to turn around and look at the towers. My tower, you know, like the top third of it was just rolling in black smoke. Then I looked at the second tower, half of it was just rolling black smoke. I grabbed the police officer on the street. I said, what's going on? What's going on? He goes, I don't know, sir, I just got here. So I'm trying to find somebody to find out what is going on. Why are my buildings, the two buildings, on fire? And there's debris everywhere. I mean, we're a block away and there's debris all the way out there. Finally, as I'm walking down the street, I knew I had to find my hotel, because I know this is already on the news. So I started walking east, and I was thinking, okay, if I walk east, I'll find my block, and then it was William Street, and I'll walk south, and I'll find my hotel. So I started walking east, and as I'm walking east, I'm hearing out of cars, I hear car radios on, coordinated attack, 2 planes flown into the World Trade Center, and I was like, no way. Then it hit me. I'm outside, I'm like, this was an attack on us. This was a terrorist attack. Then I was angry. Then I was really angry, because I'm thinking, how could somebody take 2 of our jet airliners, packed with people, and fly them into our building and kill thousands of people? I was extremely upset and very angry about that. But I just kept walking east, and I'm walking, and about a half a block away from the World Trade Center, I hear my name, Don, and I'm like, who's calling my name? I turn around and look. It's 2 of the women that came from Chicago with me to New York, and they were working actually 2 floors above me. They were on 59. I was on 57. So, like I said, I was working in that room all by myself that day. They were working on 59 together in an office. they thought I was trapped. They thought for sure that the racks had fallen over me and fallen on top of me and trapped me on the 57th floor. And they saw me outside, and we all hugged and stuff, and it was a pretty emotional scene when we all hugged. And I said to them, let's get back to my hotel. It's 4 blocks away. We can make phone calls to our family and stuff. And they said, okay, that's fine. So we walked east, and then I found that William Street, and we started walking south. Finally, I found the club quarters. I found the hotel. And we walked into the lobby. Now people are scurrying around the lobby. People are watching a TV. There was a TV set up in there. And the 2 ladies said, let's run upstairs and make a phone call on your phone. Let's go home. Took the elevator up to my room real quick, tried to make a phone call. All lines were busy. There's no way. I had a cell phone on me at the time. I couldn't make a phone call out on my cell phone. I was getting messages like crazy, voicemail messages. 10, 20, 25, 30 were adding up, but I could not answer them. So I realized we've got to find a payphone somewhere. So we went back down to the lobby. So now we're standing in the lobby. We're trying to find a payphone. And the one girl says, stop. And I said, what? She goes, stop moving. And I said, what? She goes, you feel the ground shaking? It was 8:59 a.m. And that was World Trade Center Tower 2 was starting to collapse. And you could feel it 4 blocks away. You could feel the ground starting to tremble. So at that point, all these people that are at ground zero and they're watching this all unfold are now running. And they're running away from World Trade Center because of this cloud. Because this concrete dust, mixed with concrete dust, mixed with all kinds of asbestos. Because these buildings were built in the 60s, early 70s, filled with asbestos. All that is just blowing out and it's everywhere. So these people are running towards our hotel. So one lady, I remember, we pulled her into the hotel. She was very professionally dressed, had a nice suit coat on, skirt, slacks, heels. We pulled her in, she grabbed a garbage can and started throwing up immediately because she had sucked in so much of this as she was running. And it went from a perfectly blue sky to pitch black. And like in a minute or two, it was pitch black. All you could see was just the dust swirling outside the hotel. And then it started to subside, then you see gray, then you see blue, then you see sky again. And now, all this concrete dust and asbestos is everywhere. We tried to find the payphones. They were on the 2nd floor of our hotel. So by the time we got up to the 2nd floor, there was a line of people at the payphones. They were calling their families as well to tell them that they're okay. So we're standing there and waiting in line, and boom, here comes the 2nd tower. My tower collapsed at 10:28, like maybe 30 minutes later. It collapses, and again, the sky goes gray to jet black again. The only way I could describe it is like a volcanic eruption. That's the only way I could describe it. People describe it. Just everything is coated. Cars, leaves, everything is coated in dust like this thick, 4 to 5 to 6 inches thick. See, I only knew about our attacks as I was coming out of the building, and I started hearing the radio reports about it on the car radios, that it's a coordinated attack. Two planes, commercial jetliners flown into the World Trade Center attack. So I didn't know about it till I got back to my hotel. Then in the hotel, I'm watching it on the TV there in the lobby, and they show our 2 buildings collapse. Then they switch over to the Pentagon, and I'm like, why is the Pentagon on fire? And they're like, oh, the Pentagon got hit. Then I realized, okay, this is getting much bigger than I thought. Then I worried about Chicago, because I worried about the Sears Tower and how big the Sears Tower is, and what kind of impression that would make if they hit that. And I had a lot of friends that worked in the Sears Tower at the time, and I thought, oh, please, no, don't hit the Sears Tower, don't hit the Sears Tower, don't hit the Sears Tower. So we're waiting in that line, waiting to make a phone call. I was the first one to get up there and make a phone call. I got on the phone rang twice. My wife picked up the phone over here in Dyer. She said hello, and all I could say was, I'm alive, I'm okay. So, it's hard to say. So I said, I'm alive, I'm okay. And she dropped the phone. Next person to get on the phone was my mom. My mom was in town. She was staying with, my wife was 5 months pregnant at the time with my 18-year-old. So she was staying with my wife, helping her out. My mom's on the phone second, and she says, get home now. I said, oh. That's her first words out of her mouth. She goes, I want you to come home now. And I said, Mom, you don't know how bad I want to come home right now. I said, everything's grounded. I mean, all the planes are grounded, and there's no way I'm going to get home. I said, just, rest assured, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm physically okay. Nothing happened to me. I'm okay. I said, I'll find my way home. Don't worry about it. Just wanted to call you guys. So literally, that phone call didn't last more than 2 minutes. No more than 2 minutes, and I hung up. that was really emotional for me. I think I just went in the corner and just cried for about 5 or 10 minutes because I realized I made it out. You know, I was okay. So, and then the 2 women that were with me from Illinois, they made their phone calls back to their family as well. Now getting home, like I said, that was a little bit different story. That was harder. No flights. I had people calling me, offering me limo rides from here all the way back, that they were going to send a limo from here all the way to New York City to pick me up, drive me all the way back. I'm like, no, you don't have to pay for that. I'm like, ooh, that's way too expensive. You don't have to do that. But I got offered that from the president of the company that I was working for at the time. The president of the company called me and said, Don, I will send a limo and pick you up and bring you back to your family if need be. And his name was Dan. I said, Dan, don't worry about it. I'll get home. Don't worry about it. So the next day, we were lucky enough to be put up in an apartment that night by one of the gentlemen that we were working with from that law firm. He put us up in his apartment. The next morning, he had brought breakfast in and everything before we woke up. I got up that morning, I took a shower. Got out of the shower, I blew my nose. It was black. I blew my nose again. It was black. I blew my nose 3 or 4 times. It was black. And then it finally started to clear up. So that's how much I had ingested, and I didn't even realize how much I had sucked in the day before. That it was blowing black into a Kleenex. So he got us breakfast and everything. We ate our breakfast, and then we were going to go look for rental cars. So I told the 2 women, okay, you go wait in the Avis line or Hertz line, and I'll go wait over here, you know, like a National or whatever. I said, whoever gets a car first, we'll call the other one. They said, okay. So I'm in line, and I'm in line with 25 people, and I'm moving up, and I'm like 5 people away. Ring, my phone rings. They got a car. So I'm like, great. I said, just pull up here. I'll just throw my luggage in the back. They pulled up. Brand new Ford Taurus. Had like 5 miles on it. I was like, oh, great. Throw all the luggage in it, get in it. And I said, ladies, do you want to drive? You want me to drive first? They're like, you drive first. So I'm like, okay. I get in it. I'm driving out of Manhattan. And we're driving out of Manhattan. We're on like Roosevelt Highway. And there's nobody on the road. There's nobody on the road in Manhattan the next day. So we finally got to the George Washington Bridge. So we crossed the George Washington Bridge, go into New Jersey, and just head for home. As we're crossing the George Washington Bridge, there's where all the traffic stopped. They stopped all incoming traffic to Manhattan Island the day before. So you could see all these trucks and cars and everything parked in New Jersey, on the New Jersey side, couldn't come in. So as I'm driving, the women are not saying a word to me. They're not saying a word out of Manhattan. And it takes about 30, 35 minutes to get out of Manhattan. We get to the bridge, we cross over the bridge into New Jersey, and I'm still driving, they're not saying anything. And I said, ladies, I said, did I do something wrong? I said, did I make you mad? Are you upset about something? Did I do something? They said, no, we didn't want to say anything till we're out of Manhattan. We didn't want to start talking till we knew we were out of New York, out of Manhattan. So then we drove through New Jersey. We had to stop and pick up clothes because I was coated in dust, still pretty much coated in dust. The women, they had lost all their clothes and stuff because they had stayed in a different hotel. They needed clothes, so we stopped at a mall. We picked up clothes and stuff and some food, and that's it. And we just drove home. We stopped for gas. We stopped for food, potty breaks. That was it. And I remember my wife calling me on the way home, and she called me in Pennsylvania. Where you at? Pennsylvania. I said, I'll be home soon. Driving to Ohio. Where you at? I'm in Ohio. I'll be home soon. Where you at? Indiana. I'm in Indiana. And I'm like, I'll be home soon. You don't have to call me, you know. But I pulled up at 4 o'clock in the morning on September 13th in front of my house. On September 15th, 4 a.m. And I remember the ladies, I said to them, I gave them a hug out front. I said, I don't want you to see this. I said, you guys can go, you know, like, just get back in the car and drive home. I said, I don't want you to see this, because I knew it was going to be emotional. And so I walked inside the house at 4 o'clock in the morning. There's my mom standing there, my wife. I hugged them. We were crying and stuff. And then the part that got me is I walked into my son's bedroom. And he was only 1.5 years old at the time. And I just cried over his crib. I just was bawling over his crib because I never thought I'd see him again. Some of the takeaways from that day that I'll never forget is the firefighters, like I said. The firefighters, the Port Authority police officer, the New York Police Department, all those guys helping out that day. I mean, I would not be here if they weren't there, you know, that day to help and assist. The security guard on the 44th floor. I mean, I don't know if he made it out or not, but he helped a lot of us get out that day. You know, I owe my life to them. I owe my life to the first responders and stuff like that. So not only that, but those first responders, but the New Yorkers. A lot of people say, oh, New Yorkers are so hard, they're so crass, they're so cold. Not that day. They were lined up in a bloodline, blocks long, because I remember walking out of Manhattan that afternoon. As we're walking out of Manhattan, the lower part of Manhattan, I was wondering, I'm like, why are these people standing in line? It must have been 200 long. And one guy says, this is a bloodline. Everybody's donating blood today. I was like, wow, that was amazing. But it was just, it just made me feel proud to see that, you know, to come back here, you know, my local fire department and local police department and stuff, taking me under their wing, like Sherwood, you know, fire department, Sherwood Police Department, Dyer Police Department, Dyer Fire Department, take me under their wing and say, hey, we know what you went through. If you need to talk about it, come and talk to us. So that's why I'm so close with these guys around here at Sherwood, St. John, Dyer. I had nightmares for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, it wouldn't be every night, but every once in a while I had that nightmare where you're getting blown. I get the dream of you getting blown out a window, and it was clear as could be.
Yeah.
I'm getting blown out a window, and I'm falling. Boom, wake up right before I hit the ground. And I'd always have that same kind of dream over and over, you know, quite a few times in 6 months. And then they started to subside, you know, they subsided after 6 months. But it was tough, you know, it's like, you know, who do you talk to? You know, it's like, when you get back, who do you talk to about this experience? Because it's just churning, you know, in here. And it's like, who do you talk to? It was tough. It makes me look at, you realize, you know, you can be gone like that. I mean, like that, literally gone like that. So, you know, I know teenage kids and stuff think you're impenetrable, you know, and stuff like that, and they're gonna live forever and everything like that. But, you know, once you go through an experience like that, you know that it's precious.
Yeah.
It's very precious. I don't drive as fast as I used to, that's for sure. I definitely don't drive like as fast as I'm a more cautious driver, you know. One last thing is the patriotism. I couldn't feel more proud of, you know, how patriotic we were after September 11th. You know, people flying flags on their cars and on their houses, kids walking down the street carrying flags and signs, you know, honk, you know, if you love America and stuff like that. That's what I kind of miss. I miss that. I wish we could go back to that and stuff. So I want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening in. I hope you pass this along to future generations. You know, kids, sons, daughters, grandkids. Pass it along to them, and that's why I do it. You know, 19 years later, I still go out and I speak, is so we don't forget. Thank you.